I'm going to start off with daylight savings time. Now, Arizona does not observe daylight savings time. Now, I think back in the 40s, we may have actually, Arizona may have actually observed daylight savings time. We did have here in Arizona, I think we did have some defense plants. These are companies that were making stuff for the war effort for, our troops in World War II, I think. Now, my father was in the Army during World War. Excuse me. My father was in the U.S. Army Air Corps. I'm going to get to him, in a future video, kind of describe what he told me his role was in World War II. I'll cover that in a future video when I get some of my thoughts together on that. But anyway, my mother, well, she made piston rings for Perfect Circle, and she was, a telephone operator for different periods of time. Kind of, part of the defense industry in a way. But anyway, Arizona does not observe daylight savings time. Somebody somewhere said, I don't know, back in the 40s or 50s, somewhere said Arizona's got plenty of daylight and there's really no point in saving any of it. I think it's probably 3 or 4 other U.S. states that can say the same thing, like California, like Florida, and maybe 1 or 2 other states that it's sunshiny most of the time, sunshiny and warm. Maybe New Mexico or Texas could probably say the same thing. They just got so much nice sunshine that observing daylight savings time was kind of pointless, but I guess that's a choice for those areas. I think there's one small area, up on one of the Indian reservations that, maybe the Apache and Navajo, I think they actually observe daylight savings time for some weird reason, but I may be wrong on that. I just remember hearing that somewhere, but again, I said I'm not 100% sure. Now, next thing I'm going to cover, my last video where I was talking about that part of my video for JP, because it's just train related, that Amtrak train that was derailed, this is 20, 25 years ago, something like that. Now, Amtrak did offer a reward of, fairly substantial financial amount for information leading to the individuals responsible for that. Like I said, it didn't kill anybody, but it hurt a bunch of people. And right after the Amtrak stopped running, I think they got an Amtrak line that runs through Tucson, but they don't run it through here. I used to really love, watching Amtrak roll through the valley. They had such pretty cars. I kind of had this fantasy of, man, it would be fun just to, at least, do Amtrak, maybe get on in Phoenix and take it to LA, take it to LA, spend a few days in LA as a tourist and then come back and have fantasizing about, I never did, but I just, just watching these nice cars and kind of having this dream of, doing an Amtrak. But anyway, back to these guys that derailed Amtrak. Now, they had wrote this weird letter that they had found out at the crash site. They entitled it Sons of the Gestapo. Now, if you don't know, the Gestapo was like the police force, very, very brutal, very, very mean people, in Nazi Germany. Now, if these people, maybe they were just picking that name to confuse anybody, or maybe they were just people that had mental issues. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I have no idea. As far as I know, I don't know the people responsible. It's possible that I've met one of these 2 people and not known who they were. But, they had moved on the tracks that would derail, but they tied a wire. And this is according to the news reports. They had tied a wire on the track. So the Amtrak didn't know that the track had been derailed. So these were obviously people that it either worked for the railroad or had some knowledge of how the railroad system worked. Like I said, this has been so long that the statute of limitations may have run out on actually charging these with a crime, and what their motivations were in derailing that train. Now, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Now, the next thing I'm going to cover, I want to get some video from the new Avondale fire station. Now, we had a perfectly good fire station on 4th Street, as far as I know it was. But I'm guessing they closed all that down. They tore down the old Avondale Police Department we have here in Western, and they built, they turned that into, the new fire. I'm going to get that video because you can, I don't know if it's open yet or not, but you can go up there. And I can go in there and see the building and stuff, and you read on their Avondale Fire Department. They've moved the police station over to a bunch of the city operations they've got there off of 115th Avenue, or they renamed that part. It's about a 2-mile long stretch, along, through Avondale. They've renamed that Avondale Boulevard. And I've got video from, they're off of Avondale Boulevard, for the city. And the new police department, the library's over there. One library. There's 2 or 3 libraries here in the city, and there's a sign that says fire department. But the fire department, I think that one building. I've covered that. I've got some videos there from about 6 months ago. The fire department's got some type of office over there, sharing it with some of the operations from Phoenix International Raceway. But there's no fire station in there, not that I've ever found. Now back to Phoenix International Raceway. One of the main access roads into Phoenix, there's 2 or 3, but one of them is 115th Avenue, off of Interstate 10. And that place has got to be, getting onto Avenue Boulevard, 115th Avenue, and you're doing a race, that is a nightmare. You got tens of thousands of people who want to go go down that road. Of course, there's 107th and there's El Mirage. There's about 4 different ways to go in there. And then you go down Indian Springs Road and then run into Phoenix International Raceway. Now, I was down there, at the raceway for a 4th of July celebration we had maybe about 20 years ago. But I've never actually been there for a race. So sometime I need to actually go in there and watch a NASCAR race. Or maybe if they have Indy races down there, I'll just watch an Indy race down there. Now, I used to watch NASCAR faithfully. But after I kind of got into YouTube, I stopped watching it as much. I'll still watch part of a race here and there, along with, watching here stuff on YouTube, either like Poltergeist or, paranormal stuff, Urbex. I'll watch some foreign language stuff, and I'll do some of the, the RV, the van life videos. There's a bunch of stuff I like to watch here on YouTube. That's why I like to mix up the content of my video on just whatever I damn well please, whatever I think about to make. So I'll probably get that, the train bridge that crosses our Free River, probably do it from the west side. There's if I can get it, there's a stagecoach that they put there on Dysart, and it's kind of between Western and US 85. It's only been there for a couple of months. I may get that now. I may put that off, when I can just walk over there. Of course, it's Sunday. It's not going to be real busy there. I may go over and get it today. I may just get that train bridge and just save that for some other time. Anyway, that's kind of my plan for today. I'll go over and download some more videos, and I'll watch them. I'll watch some of the Indy or the NASCAR race at Phoenix International Raceway. But I said, if you're here in Avondale, stay off 115th Avenue during the race, because it's a nightmare over there. Bye-bye. Love you. Let's keep life interesting. Bye-bye.